We tried for 7 years. Every test, every treatment, every round, the needles and the hormones and the hopes that hit the ground. The pregnancy tests lined up like soldiers in the bathroom trash. Each one a little funeral, each one a tiny crash. She cried on every Mother's Day like the holiday was a blade, and I held her in the silence of the family we hadn't made. The church said just keep praying, the doctor said keep trying, but the body said I'm finished, and the spirit was done denying. The word adoption felt like surrender at first, like we were giving up the dream, like the DNA was the only thread that made a family what it seems. But somewhere in the brokenness of what our bodies couldn't do, God whispered, I've been waiting for you to hear there's something new. He said, I adopted you before the foundation of the world. I chose you before you were formed. I gave you the pearl, and the family I'm building for you doesn't need your blood to bind, it needs your love. And your love is the strongest kind. So we signed the paper that would change the story of our name. Not the pregnancy announcement, but the adoption declaration came. And the baby that we're waiting for is already being born, in a city we don't know yet, in a morning, in a storm. And God is in the match, and God is in the way. The adoption papers are the love letters that heaven helped create. The home study felt like Judgment Day, with a clipboard and a pen. A stranger walked through every room and asked us to begin, explaining why we'd be good enough to raise somebody else's child. And the answering felt holy, and the answering felt wild. We painted the bedroom 3 times because we didn't know the color yet. We bought the neutral, bought the green, then bought the yellow on a bed. That the yellow felt like sunshine, and the sunshine felt like hope. And the empty room with yellow walls became the prayer we couldn't mope. The call came on a Tuesday at 11:42. The social worker said we have a match, and the world became brand new. A baby girl 6 days old, born in a state we'd never been. The birth mother chose us from a book and said I wanted to be them. She chose us, a woman we never met, chose us to be the ones to rock her daughter, feed her daughter, raise her underneath the suns of a life she couldn't give her, but loved her enough to send away. And the bravest woman in this story is the one who chose that day. Because adoption has 2 mothers, one who gave the life, one who gives the living, both of them sacrifice. And the child between the 2 is the miracle of the choice. Not biology, not accident, but the intentional of a voice that said, I pick this family, I trust this name I give. And the birth mother's surrender is the reason this child will live. We will tell her every birthday that she's chosen, not replaced. That the woman who released her held her first and kissed her face. That the adoption wasn't a rejection, it was the greatest kind of love. The kind that lets go of everything so the child can rise above. first time I held her, she weighed 6 pounds, and the whole entire world. Her fingers wrapped around my thumb like she already knew the girl she was going to become inside the walls of yellow and of prayer. And the father who couldn't have a child was holding his child right there. My wife looked at me crying, and she said she has your smile, and I said she has your heart. And we laughed because the wow of waiting in the pain and the pregnancy tests in the trash all led to this specific moment, every single crash. The judge signed the final paper on a morning bright in May, and the courtroom full of people clapped like it was the grandest day. The gavel came down once, and the judge looked at our girl and said, "You are officially and legally and permanently theirs. Consider it done and read." And the room exploded in the tears of the 7-year wait. And the daughter who was born from someone else became the closure of the gate. Not closing out the birth mother, but closing out the lie. That family requires DNA and nothing else can qualify. So if the body couldn't do it and the treatments didn't take, and the Mother's Day is painful, and the Father's Day is innate, God has a child somewhere in a hospital tonight, whose birth mother is choosing you beneath the fluorescent light. The adoption isn't plan B, it's the A plan God designed for the family He's been building since before the dawn of time. And the yellow room is ready, and the papers are in the drawer, and the child that's on the way is the answer to everything you've been praying for. Chosen not by accident, by love, by God, by name. The adoption papers are the proof that family is. The door doesn't open from the inside. That's the first thing that you learn. The second thing is silence has a volume, and the walls know how to burn. 8 by 10 is the measurement of everything I own. A bunk, a sink, a Bible, and a man completely alone. I wasn't born for this, nobody is, but the choices stacked like bricks. One wrong turn at 22 became the avalanche of tricks the enemy laid on the road. I walked without a light, and the cell became the classroom for the darkest kind of night. Darkest kind of night. My mama visits once a month, and she pretends the room is fine. She brings the photos of my daughter, who is growing past the line of recognition, because the last time that I held her she was 3. She's turning 9 next Wednesday, and she's growing up without me. My mama doesn't cry in front of me, she saves it for the car. But I see the water in her eyes reflecting off the bar. She says, "I'm praying for you, baby," and I say, "I know you are." And the prayer from the prison cell connects wants to live. The chaplain brought a Bible to my cell on day 43. I hadn't read a page since middle school, and even then it wasn't me. But the nights in here are longer than the nights outside the gate, and the Bible was the only thing that didn't judge me for my weight. I opened up to Acts because someone told me Paul wrote from a cell, and the man who murdered Christians found the grace inside the well. He was beaten, stoned, and shipwrecked, and he still sang hymns at night. And the prison couldn't hold his praise because the praise was stronger than the might. I started reading every morning when the block was still asleep. The Psalms became the letters that I wrote but couldn't keep. David running from the king, Joseph thrown into the pit. The Bible's full of prisoners who God hadn't quit. My cellmate said, "You believe in that?" I said, "I'm starting to." He laughed, but 3 weeks later he was reading Romans 2. In the cell that held 2 sinners became the chapel in the yard. 2 men on their knees in a room built to be hard. And God says the prison cannot limit where my presence goes. I was with Joseph in the Egyptian cell. I was there when the door chose to close. I was with Daniel in the lion's den. I was with the 3 in the fire, and I'm with you in this 8x10. I'm the God who walks through wire. He says you are not defined by the number on your chest. You are not the worst thing you have done. You are not the inmate or the rest of what the system calls you. You're my child behind a wall, and the prayer from the prison cell is the loudest prayer of all. I wrote my daughter a letter last week with the crayons from the program. I drew a sun and a house with a fence and a family diagram. I said, "Daddy made mistakes, but Daddy loves you past the sky." I said, "You are the reason I wake up and the reason that I try." She wrote me back in purple ink with the spelling of a child. She said, "Dear Daddy, I forgave you already. Come home when you're done. I'll be wild with happiness." And the God who handed me the letter saw me fall apart, because the forgiveness from a 9-year-old is the surgery on the heart. I'm counting down the calendar like every inmate does the same. The day the door opens from the inside, and the world will know my name. Not the number, not the charges, not the mugshot on the page, but the man who found the God of second chances in a cage. I'll walk out different, not perfect, but pointed in a way toward the daughter and the mama and the Bible and the day when the prayer from the prison cell becomes the testimony on the stage, and the worst chapter of my life becomes the best one on the page. So if you're behind the wall tonight, the ceiling's made of steel, and the world forgot your name, and the system doesn't feel. God knows your cell number. He knows the block, He knows the floor, and the prayer from the prison cell goes straight through every door. You are not forgotten. You are not the sentence that was read. The God who freed Peter from the chains will free the chains inside your head. Pray tonight from the bunk, from the floor, from the corner. There was a season in my life when the lights went out and stayed. Not the electric kind, the kind inside the chest that slowly frayed. I couldn't name the day it started. It crept in like a tide. One morning I just couldn't get up, and the world kept on outside. The alarm would ring, the sun would come, the birds would do their thing, but the body on the mattress didn't care about the spring. I pulled the blanket over like a tomb and closed my eyes, not to sleep, but to disappear, the gentlest kind of returning calls. I stopped pretending I was fine. I stopped going to the places where the people were and the wine. The shower felt like climbing Everest. The kitchen felt like Mars, and the distance from the bed to the door was measured not in feet but scars. My mother called and said, "You sound different," and I said, "I'm just tired." But tired was the alias for darkness that had conspired to convince me I was nothing, and the world agreed. And the lie became the loudest voice in every thought I'd bleed. But God sat with me in the dark. He didn't turn the light on right away. He didn't quote a verse. He didn't say, "Get up and pray." He just sat there on the mattress like he had nowhere else to be. The God of the universe sat in the dark with me. He didn't rush the healing. He didn't set the clock. He just sat there, and the sitting was the strongest kind of. The depression doesn't listen to the worship songs that play. It hears the melody and says, "That's nice," and takes it all away. I tried the gratitude, I tried the exercise, I tried the list, I tried every Christian formula, and everyone was dismissed by the chemistry that doesn't read the Bible or the hymn, by the brain that's wired for something that the Sunday school can't trim, and the shame of the believer who is drowning in the gray is the loneliest denomination in the church today. A friend came by on Thursday, not to fix me, not to preach. He brought a pizza and he sat beside the bed within my reach. He said, "I'm not gonna ask you how you feel, because I see it on the wall. I'm just gonna sit here and eat this pizza, and you don't have to talk at all." And he did, he ate 3 slices, and he watched the ceiling fan, and the silence between us was the most healing kind of plan, because presence doesn't need a sermon or a scripture or a song. Sometimes presence is the only thing that says you still belong. Elijah ran from Jezebel. fed him first, he let him sleep. He let the prophet rest before the mountain and the fire and the whisper in the test. God's prescription for the depressed prophet wasn't shame. It was food and sleep and presence and the whisper of his name. Medication started in November, not as failure but as grace. The same God who created serotonin knows the chemicals place. And the pill that helped the darkness lift was in competition with the prayer. It was the prayer in a different form, God's hands in clinical care. Slowly, not like lightning, more like dawn behind the hill. The bed became less heavy, the alarm became less shrill. The shower happened Tuesday and the kitchen happened too. And the man who couldn't move for months took a walk around the block and the sky was blue. I'm not fully healed, the darkness visits like a guest who knows the code, but I've learned to let God sit with me instead of carrying the load. I've learned that strength isn't the absence of the mattress days, it's the getting up the day after and finding God in the haze. And the people who judge the depressed believer haven't walked the floor. They haven't felt the ceiling press and the body beg for more of the nothing, just the nothing, the absence of the pain. But God sits in the nothing too, and he whispers through the rain. So if the dark is where you are tonight and the light feels like it lied, if the bed is where you've been for days and the They called me stupid in the 3rd grade when the letters didn't sit. The teacher said he's lazy, but the truth is none of it was quit. The words just danced on pages like they had a life of their own. And the boy who couldn't read like the others sat in the corner all alone. They called me slow at recess, like the word was just a game. They called me every label, but they never called my name. The system said I was below proficient on the standardized exam. And the boy behind the number disappeared inside the scam. I carried every label like a backpack full of stones, through middle school and high school and the hallways full of clones. The special ed room was the place they put the kids who didn't fit the mold. And the mold was built for someone else, and I was always outside in the cold. I worked twice as hard for half the grade. I studied till the clock gave up, but the grades came back like evidence that I'd never be enough. And the world measures intelligence by the way you fill the sheet, but the boy who couldn't fill it had a heart that skipped a beat. For every person in the room who felt invisible and small, the boy they called slow was the first one there whenever someone would fall. But God knows my real name, not the label or the file, not courage is a different kind. I grew up thinking I was broken in a way that couldn't mend, that there's something wrong inside my brain was the story's only end. I avoided the books, I avoided the tests, I avoided the rooms with the lights that reminded me of every desk where I couldn't get it right. I became the funny one because the humor hit the wound. If I made them laugh, they wouldn't notice that the reading left the room. I became the helper because the helping didn't need a grade. And the boy who couldn't read became the man that kindness made. A woman at the church once said, God doesn't make mistakes. And I heard it for the 1,000th time, but this time something breaks. Because if God doesn't make mistakes, then the brain he gave me was a choice. And the learning difference wasn't a deficit, it was a different kind of voice. A voice that hears the music that the page will never hold. A voice that sees the patterns in the stories that are told. A voice that feels the room before the room has said a word. The boy they called slow was the quickest listen anybody ever heard. And God says I made Einstein, who failed the school that bore his name. I made David, who was overlooked by his family's claim. I made Moses with the stutter and I sent him to the king. I made Gideon the weakest and I called him mighty thing. He says the label they gave you in the 3rd grade was a lie. The system measured one small corner of the universe inside your sky. And the things you can't do on paper are the things you do in person best. The empathy, the kindness, the showing up the rest of what makes a human holy and a life worth living through. The boy they called slow is the masterpiece I drew. I told my son last week about the labels and the stones. He looked at me and said, Dad, you're the smartest man I've known. You know how to fix the car and make the pancakes and the fire. You know how to make me feel like I'm the tallest thing on the wire. And the tears came down because the sun was doing what the system never could. He was calling me by the name that God assigned and it was good. Not stupid, not slow, not below proficient on the chart, but a father who is brilliant and in the places that the tests don't start. And maybe you were labeled too, maybe the classroom wasn't kind. Maybe the words they said in childhood are the words still in your mind. You'll never amount to much, you're not college material. You'll work with your hands because your head is immaterial. But the hands that built the house are the hands that hold the child. The head they said was empty as a wilderness of wild. And the God who made the universe with words and not a pen is the same God who says the labels end right here, let me begin. So if you've been carrying a name that someone gave you long ago, a name that shrank your spirit and convinced you of the low, God is renaming you tonight in the registry of the real. Not slow, not stupid, not the grade, not the way you feel. Your name is is chosen, your name is purposed, your name is mine. The label was a chapter, but God's writing every line. And the book